Good Tuesday morning to you. I'm Dan Kopp from Leading Like a Buffalo, and I'm joining you live from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin on a cold and clear Tuesday morning. And joining me as always is Ty Firsching. Good morning, Ty.
Good morning, Dan. I'm coming to you from Entebbe, Uganda. That's right. It's been 75 degrees all week, so I just want to throw that out there. It's been nice not having to worry about any snow or cold spells.
Well, your temperature is comparable to ours. We have 2 digits in it. You have 2 digits. Ours just happens to be 13. Yours happens to be 75. So it's about the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. And as you can see, you are joining us, and we are the Enhanced Leadership Project. Ty of Traid Leadership and me of Leading Like a Buffalo are going to take you on a journey to enhance leadership. You're welcome to join our project. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, Dan at leadingbuffalo.com, Ty at tradesecrets.com. You can contact us directly via those emails. You can also reach out directly to us on LinkedIn, DM us, email us, whatever you prefer. We are available to do in-person training, online training, speaking, coaching, mentoring, and we would love to engage with you. If you're watching live, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section, and we will answer any and all questions that we see, and we would love to hear from you. If you're watching in a replay, feel free to reach out to us if you have a question or you'd like to engage with us in a future project. So you're welcome to join us in the Enhanced Leadership Project, and today's topic is building momentum in the new year. And to start us off today, here's Ty.
Thanks, Dan. Hello, everyone. Glad to see you, or glad you can see me, hopefully. As I mentioned, I'm in Uganda, so there are technical difficulties from time to time. So if that happens, Dan will step in for me and until I get back online. Anyway, I'm really excited about this Enhanced Leadership Project and starting momentum off in the new year, because this is a project we're starting this year. If you've been with us in the past, you've noticed we've used the term enhanced leadership, but we decided to change it and tweak it just a little bit. And this fits right into what we're doing now for today's title, how to build momentum for the next year. When you do something, you tweak it a little bit, it's new. Things are more exciting when they're new, not only for existing customers, for your employees as well. As long as it's not too much out of the ordinary. If it's a tweak that enhances what you're doing, then it's an easy tweak for everyone to understand. If it's something that is, we have to do this and it's procedural, that's not going to work. In fact, that's probably not the way to start off the next year, because people are going to get discouraged. Oh, now we have to do this, like that. And that brings me to the next point. If you want to build momentum for the next year, you start off with the positives of what happened the year before. They know what the negatives are. If it's an organization, they'll know what the negatives are. Start off with the positives. And if you're going to tweak something, or you're going to do something, or you have capacity building or whatever, leadership training, whatever you want to call it, you want to make sure that you're just bringing in the positives, not to hide the negatives, but people don't need to be reminded. They don't need a tour of last year. They know what happened last year. What they need is how to move forward. And you can bring in the negatives later on, like at the end of first quarter, or after the end of the first month, go, by the way, we're doing this much better than we did last year. But don't bring it off at the beginning. These are our numbers from last year, blah, 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 blah. And then now we're going to do this. That's the wrong approach. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. People are going to maybe take offense or be just turned off by it. One of the other things that you can do, actually, I'm going to stop there. Dan, do you have anything? I see you writing a lot, so I wanted to
a lot of things came to mind. First, procedurally, you mentioned if you add something, it's a turnoff. I just want to remind people, he's right. B, when you do add something, whether it's a month from now or 2 months from now, don't pile on the plate. If you add something to the plate, take something off the plate. If it's just a procedural thing on how something's being done, be overt when you're talking about it. Like, This isn't in addition to what we're already doing. It's instead of this thing, or it's the same thing we've always been doing. We're just going to do it a little bit differently so we have better success. So please take a step back and put yourself in the shoes of the people receiving your message. And you don't want them to feel inundated, because we've all been there. So if you're adding something, take something away. If you're simply changing procedures, overtly state that to them so they realize we're not doing anything different. We're not doing anything more. We are simply doing something differently than we did before for a very good reason that was just explained to us. So that was thought number one. Another thought I had was, um, I think it's very logical and good to remind people where you are. All right, people, let's reset. You mentioned not focusing on the negatives. I agree. I would focus on the positives. So what a good leader should do is remind people where they are in the process. So, first quarter last year, we started this. Second quarter, we added to this. Third quarter, we changed it to that. Fourth quarter, we did this. And that's how it all fits together. And now we're moving forward just to remind people where we are. So, revisit your mission, revisit your vision, and remind people. Because I've seen leaders who have everything so clear in their minds that they don't realize everybody else has it as clearly as where the leader's mind is 4 steps ahead of where they are, and they see where they're going, but the followers are still 2 steps behind, trying to figure out how the pieces fit together. So constantly remind people, and the beginning of a year is a great way to remind people of all the moving pieces that are going on in an organization and what they do for the overall whole and where you're going. Also, I'd like to take a step back off of organizational thoughts and look at human beings. Today is the first full work week after the holidays. Many places have a skeleton crew or shut down over the holidays. Or let's face it, we've all been there. There's not a whole lot of productive work that occurs between the week of Christmas through the week of New Year's. So believe it or not everybody appreciates that time, because maybe their best place in their life is at work in your organization. So welcome them back with open arms. Other people who've been mentally and physically checked out for the last week or two, they need to be reinvigorated and re-excited, because we're back. We both worked in schools in the past, and in my opinion, the first day back after a long holiday break is always the holiday break over the New Year's. That's the worst day of the school year, because you typically have the same classes in most districts. There's nothing new and exciting to look forward to, because the second semester is 2, 3, 4 weeks away, and it's the same old stuff. And how dare the educator have the Christmas decoration still up when it's January 6th or 7th? So all that goes into people aren't the happiest. Then we've got the whole weather affecting people and the winter depression that is a real thing. So you've got to re-energize your people, support them, welcome them back, get to reestablish those relationships, ask them how they're doing, and don't forget about the people as you're also moving your organization forward, because the people are what is going to make it happen, and they're your most important asset. If you leave them behind, you can have the greatest plans ever, but if they're not ready to follow you, pointless. So there's the notes I jotted down in your introduction.
Well, I agree with everything. Yeah, except all of it. No, I'm just kidding. Always, when you're starting the new year, it's different, because people have a different perspective. They made their New Year's Eve resolutions, most of them. If not, it's not an issue for you to have an idea of where your company is going or where your department is going, but you don't want to push those on people. The whole idea of building momentum is to support your team, support the people underneath you, and give them the idea that, okay, if we work together, I'll be in a better place personally. What's in it for them, what adds value to their life, is going to add value to the company as a whole. And so you have to make sure that you distinguish your goals separate from what you want the people to do. Okay, not just because it's your personal agenda. And that being said, visibility is a huge thing. And Dan does a wonderful job when he was administrator. He was always out and about in the schools. He hardly ever spent time in his office at all. And most leaders that are really good at what they do, as being one of the best leaders around is they know the people that they work with. They're not micromanaging just because they're walking through the halls or walking to different offices. They're just making themselves available. And when they do that, people respond as long as they know it's not micromanaging. The last thing you want is for if the boss walks in, if you walk in, you don't want people to go, oh man, he's here, and you have to start acting like you're working. What you want is someone you can trust and know that they're always around. And so that might be something to slowly, if you don't do it, that might be something to slowly change. Do it once a week or whatever. Don't do it every day and then stop doing it. Which brings me to my next point. If you do something new, if you do any type of training, if you do any capacity building, make sure there's follow-up with it. Don't set down, this is a great program. This is a great idea of how we can be better. And then never talk about it again for the rest of the year because it doesn't do any good. If you not follow through and follow up, like in a couple of weeks, whether it's an email or just personally going to people, what did you think about the training we did last week? Are we doing anything different? Are you still thinking about it? Because if you don't do that within the first 10 days after you do the initial introduction, it's gone. And whether you like it or not, it's gone. Look at the data. It shows it. It's just it's out of sight, out of mind. We heard it one day just to get through the first week. And now we're back into what we've done previously for ever since I've been here. So Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, two people come to mind, and I saw this in real time. I had two C-suite executives working for me, two different instances, where getting back to my statement a few minutes ago in regard to these leaders saw things so clearly, how all the seemingly unrelated pieces came together, and what today did, building on what we did last week or the previous quarter and what it's going to lead to next quarter, whatever. They forgot to connect the dots all the time for people. So it's very important if you do something today or next week, or the building capacity. I love that concept. If you're helping build capacity, you're doing it for a reason. It's not a standalone. Remind them how this is related to what we've already done. What's behind us that this is related to? And remind them where it's taking us. And then when you do the follow-up, whether it's 2 weeks from now, a month from now, whatever, remind people, all right, a month ago, the second week of January, this is what we did. Now, this is the next step. This is how it's related to what we did then, and that we're just building on it. And again, keeping in mind what I said earlier, if you're building and doing those types of things, you've got to take something away. If it's some type of task oriented, if it's just simply, this is how we're going to do business from now on. That's, hey, we're still going to get the same tasks done. We're just doing them differently now. So be overt, because you don't want them to feel overwhelmed. You don't want it to feel disjointed. You surely don't want them to think, why are we doing this? This is just another flash in the pan, and this is blah. So remind them and make sure they know where we've been and where we're going, and how what we're doing today is related to both of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you're watching this recording or if you're live, think what Dan just said 20 seconds ago, because what Dan just described was building momentum. Let's look at what connects in the past and look where it's leading us. That's momentum by definition. Okay. So when you have that in mind, the whole idea is to elevate your entire company or your department or your coworker. And when you do that, momentum builds, it shifts, and you're moving forward. It's like a river. You'll never see a river run backwards. Okay, a river is always momentum. You can never step in the same river twice. Why? Because the water's already down when you try and step in the same location that you just stepped in. So think that, and if you can see that the river is always moving forward, then your goal is to always move forward as well. Dan?
I love it. And I've said repeatedly on these discussions that Ty is much more cerebral than I. And that's what Dan just described, was momentum. I wasn't even thinking that word when I said it. I just know how to do things without thinking bigger picture, like what is this actually called? What am I doing here? I've just seen, I know I do it, and I've seen my colleagues do comparable things in their departments, and fall flat on their faces because they didn't do the things I did, reminding where we were, showing people where we're going and connecting the dots. So I guess I never thought of the word momentum when I was talking about that, but there's Ty coming up with the definition again.
Well, you don't get to sit and listen to yourself, right? Yeah. So I'm sitting, I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's exactly what the title
Fair
is.
enough.
It's almost like you prepared it, but as you and I have talked about, we don't really prepare a script for what we're talking about. We have a title and a subject, and we go in basically cold, but just warm from our experiences. But we don't know where the conversation is going to lead us. And that's why when you brought it up, I was like, well, that's perfect, because that's what everybody should do in the new year, is just focus on where we're going and make the connections to the past so it's relevant. Because if it's not relevant, why are you going to do it?
You just described gut leadership. The way we approach these episodes and these discussions is the same way we lead. A leader could have 40 years of experience and on the last day of employment encounter something new. It happens because every day is different. Even if it's the same exact people involved in the same exact thing, it's going to be handled differently because for whatever reason, it's going to be different. So we go into a cold situation, but we're warmed up because of our experiences. So we have these discussions that we don't prep for because neither one of us work well off a script. But what we do is we rely on our knowledge base of what we've done with leadership in our careers. And we're both 30 plus years into leadership positions that allow us to, on the fly, make decisions, have discussions, and react to things. That's gut leadership. We've talked about it. And it does not mean that someone who's in their 20s or 30s is not a good leader. It simply means we have more experiences under our belt and more tools in the toolkit, if you will. And the more tools you have and the sharper they are conceptually, the stronger your gut is, and the more you can trust it more. Your trust level increases on your gut leadership. Just like I know going into the discussion today, Ty and I talked about it about 2 weeks ago. We talked about 5 minutes before we came on the air, but we didn't talk about the essence of what we were going to talk about because we both have trust in our knowledge and our ability to have a conversation about leadership, somewhat cold, but we've got the experience behind us to have a fulfilling discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this beginning the whole year. So Dan and I are, for the month of January, our topics are going to be about starting the year strong. And so each one of our talks this week or this month are going to be about starting the year strong and what you can do. This is just a little tiny bit of what you can do. And your idea or what you're doing with your people or what you're doing for yourself to have momentum, it doesn't have to be big. It just has to be poignant. It has to be relevant, and you have to figure out where it's going.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have said it better myself. It's the small things that we do as leaders that help move the needle forward. And it's not a whole scale. We were going this way and now we're doing things this way. That no one wins in that situation. You make minor tweaks and you're doing this over the years, and eventually it becomes more stable and you're moving forward and all in the same direction. And everything we talked about, you can look at through both a leadership lens and a management lens, because there are probably management things. A lot of people have health benefits that run on the calendar year. So leading up in the fourth quarter of last year, you were setting the table for these are the changes in benefits. And hopefully it was through the lens of what do my employees want versus what can I no longer afford and cut, and I need to cut. So all the things that go into the management organization are also things that can build momentum. Maybe you're stuck in an antiquated compensation system that you reward people for longevity. Well, that's so last century. You need to get out of that. You need to have some type of value and performance-based compensation system to provide the impetus to your employees to actually meet the expectation and to exceed it. So as you move forward, look through that leadership lens, look through that management lens and prepare yourself, your people, and your organization for great success in 2025.
Yeah, I agree. And 25 is just starting. We're not even 8 days into the year yet. So everybody, you have a long way to do a lot of stuff. So start small, just like a snowball rolling down a hill.
How would you know? It's 75 degrees there. How would you know about a snowball?
I haven't seen snow in so long.
That's all good. And we don't have any here except a little dusting on occasion, so we're good. All right. Well, that was our discussion about starting the new year off, 2025, with momentum, both through an individual employee lens and through the organization lens. And we also talked about looking at it through a management lens and through a leadership lens. And it's the small things that you do as a leader that can move your organization forward. And please don't forget about the people involved in your organization, because they're real human beings with real emotions, real feelings, real ideas, real experience, and embrace them. So Ty, any last thoughts?
No, you may hear the kids out there yelling. I don't know if you can hear the screaming. For some reason, in front of my lot is where they have made a makeshift soccer pitch. So they like to play soccer there. So if it's disturbing anybody, sorry, they're kids. So that's all I can say.
I heard it about halfway through and I was going to mention it, but it always gives me a chuckle when I hear the kids outside playing. So that's great. All right, people, please, if you'd like to join us in the Enhanced Leadership Project, feel free to reach out. Our emails are at the bottom of the screen, dan@leadingbuffalo.com and ty@traidsecrets.com. And also, you can reach out to us directly on LinkedIn via DM in both of our profiles. So we're simply two guys have been in leadership for 30 plus years each, who get together weekly and talk leadership. And we are helping others grow their leadership, lead with confidence. So please join us in the Enhanced Leadership Project. This is Simply Leadership, and you can do it. Good luck.
Take care, everyone. Have a great year.